Good morning or afternoon, whichever it is for you. This is Uncle Bug talking. I am brand new to YouTube, and this will be definitely my very first video. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I have an idea on what I want to do. As you can see, the video footage in the background that I have is of me painting a Warhammer Atillain Rough Rider. So I have really liked Warhammer for a while. I've been in Warhammer for about 8 years or so, and my first exposure to Warhammer was a dreadnought. Specifically, it was the Blood Angels dreadnought with the spear arm. I thought that thing was sick, and then I found out it was basically a wizard robot. And that definitely changed my thoughts overall about the universe of Warhammer on how epic it can be. Watching a lot of Warhammer content back then, specifically, for example, One Mind Syndicate, I believe. I watched a lot of his videos to learn about the Warhammer lore and the universe as a whole, just kind of getting to understand it more. And again, the more I learned, the more interesting it became, being an interesting combination of sci-fi and fantasy, mostly leaning into sci-fi, but still having wizards in a way, which made it very entertaining. Now, going back to the Atillain Rough Rider, I kind of wanted to just go over a little bit on how old this model is. It turns out it's actually 3 years old. I was very surprised and was not expecting that. And I got it back in 9th edition when the 9th edition Codex came out with the Kriegsmen kill team. Well, the Kriegsmen kill team didn't come out. Like the new Cadian shock troops came out, the Rogel Dorn, a big refresh for Guard, which was very much, I think, needed to keep the miniatures in scale with the Space Marines and the new Chaos Space Marine models that were coming out. So now the lore of the Atillain Rough Riders is very unique, I think, compared to most of the other Imperial Guard regiments. The planet that they originate from is the planet of Attila, which is a feudal world where the locals form nomadic tribes and travel across their planet through forests and plains, except for a single city with the sole purpose of being a trading outpost for their planet to connect to the rest of the galaxy, to the rest of the Imperium, I should say. It is also where regiment recruiting and gathering happen before launching off the world. Most tribes never really stay in one place for the same time for a few months because of the harsh winters on the planet as well. So they make me think of Native Americans, and also, what do you know, Attila the Hun and his tribes of the day. Very similar to they're very similar to the White Scars home planet, which is also, what do you know, very much influenced by the by Attila the Hun. And also another similarity between the White Scars and the Attillans, funny enough, is that they both have a coming of age ritual and tradition where they scar their faces to show how loyal they are to their tribes, or as the White Scars are, scarring their face to show how loyal they are to their chapter. And it's very intriguing how they're so similar, yet I believe they originate from completely different planets. And another thing that's interesting with the Attillans is that they will put ash into their wounds on their face to make the scar much more prominent and much more showing, just again to show their loyalty to their tribe and their chieftain. Now, coming from a feudal world, the Attillans don't really understand technology, other than the simplest concepts. They can look at a lasgun or radio and understand their purpose and how to use them. Maybe not how they work exactly, but they can use the simpler devices. I mean, to be honest, what people within the Imperium really know how their technology works. You have literal humans that have been lobotomized to turn into door sensors. I mean, come on. So, continuing on, when the Attillans, when they see a tank, They don't understand it at all. They're thinking this iron horse is an amazing creation, but they also see the limitations of a tank. That is the reason why they stick to riding their horses. Tanks are very cool and all, but a tank struggles to traverse the forests of Attila, and the mountains as well, compared to horses, which are so much easier to ride through difficult terrain, as shown with their datasheet ability, Horse Masters, which allows the unit to fall back and still be eligible to shooting and charge in the same turn. That is, in the current edition, which is 10th edition, and going into 11th, it is the exact same. Speaking of their data sheets, their base stats are a toughness 4, 2 wounds, and a 4-up save. They're weaker, they're as tough as a Space Marine, but they have worse armor than a Space Marine. And they're not the most durable by a long shot. The most redeeming fact about them is that they have an amazing movement speed of 12 inches, which is very important in the Imperial Guard. They're very good at moving forward between cover and to get set up before a strong charge in turn 2 or 3. The way I use them is as a counter punch to enemy charges usually, or having a smaller infantry squad draw out enemy units before the cavalry are ordered to fix bayonets and charge in. Speaking of which, their lance weapons are fantastic, especially their melta lances. But before we get there, their frag lance is a d6 attack, so kind of like a mini grenade, right? Grenade on a stick, with strength 4, damage 1, no armor penetration. Not too exciting. It is quite fun to send them into a squad of Gretchen and to all of a sudden explode in the number of attacks that they get just to murder a bunch of goblins. But the Melta Lance is awesome. It is strength 9, AP 4, and D6 damage. This thing is disgusting at times. This allows the models to really punch way above their weight class against enemy vehicles and elite units. As an old war story, I should say, I had a squad of 5 Rough Riders go up against an Imperial Knight Armiger. But these 5 cavalry, these 5 Atillain Rough Riders charged into a wounded Armiger, dealing 12 damage. It didn't even need to get it was wounded already, but that would have just one-shot an Armiger, I believe. The riders then consolidated behind a ruin onto an objective, no longer being visible in that during my turn. Then it went on to my opponent's turn. He wasn't able to see the cavalry, but he shot up the other cavalry squad and just completely got rid of them. But he had a new threat, which was Bulgren, which I'll probably talk about them later. But he had to deal with them on the other side of the board. So that's what drew a lot of the fire from the Questoris class knights. Now allowed my Rough Riders to go out and charge into a second Armiger class knight. He moved it forward to get some pot shots on some tanks, which he did some damage, but not enough. And I just sent in the Rough Riders there. And they ended up just, again, one-shotting it in combat. I think their damage spiked up a little bit higher, dealing more like 13 or doing more like 14 or 15 damage. It just really spiked, and they just decimated the Armiger. And it was just so epic, and it was such an awesome scene just to imagine a bunch of cavalry with bombs on sticks just charging in and just nuking these robots that they don't even understand. They don't even know what they are, right? So now the last thing I have to say is thank you for making it to the end of this video. Again, this is my very first video. I don't know where this is going other than to give me more incentive to finish painting my collection of guardsmen. I have, again, collected over 8 years of being in this hobby, and I hope this will turn into something I will greatly enjoy to stick with and come back to and keep doing. I have played through many different armies over the last 6, 7, 8 years of my life, and I've played Imperial Knights, I've played Space Marines, I've played Death Guard, but I also recently got back into Death Guard. And I've also played with Votann. I've sold them, but also recently got back into Votann because I really like the new models that have come out. And I'm just excited to, again, have more of an incentive to go through my pile of shame and get stuff done. And one thing that I will say that I've never left is the Imperial Guard, because I just love the idea of just good old humans who are facing the terrors of the warp, the horrors of the galaxy. You'll have guys on horses charging in with melta lances and frag lances into alien bugs. You'll have a guardsman with a melta mine chuck it and nuke a space marine terminator sorcerer who has been alive for 10,000 years. You will have an Imperial Guard Leman Russ battle tank or Vanquisher one-shot fire and kill demons beyond their comprehension. But they still move on. They still fight the good fight, even though they're dealing with the horrors of the galaxy, the horrors of the universe. And that's just something that I think is amazing about the Imperial Guard, and the reason why I've just kind of stuck with them, because they're just dudes and gals who are just trying to live and trying to survive and protect their family and their galaxy and the Imperium. Again, thank you. If you believe this video is worth a like, I would appreciate it. And I wish you love and luck from Uncle Bug. Goodbye.